All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Daily Palantir Shareholders Meeting. I believe this is our 5th episode, and we've got an interesting day. We have a very, very, very interesting day with a lot of stuff that's going on. Palantir obviously had a phenomenal day, ending at $15.28. We smashed through $15. Quite frankly, it wasn't even that hard. We just kind of just went up to $15 and it went to 1567, or I think 1571 was the high. We're going to pull it up in a second. And then we've got a lot to talk about. On today, we've got to talk about the new $463 million deal that we got with the U.S. Systems Command of implementing AI infrastructure and LLMs into the military. Second, we've obviously got to talk about price action. Price action has been pretty phenomenal, and I think it's going to be really important to kind of discuss why we're getting the price action that we're getting right now. And so that's going to be interesting. Third, I want to talk about what CARP has said about demand in the United States from a defense perspective, which kind of explains the contract we got. Then I want to talk about the kind of customer company relationship that CARP has noted he has in terms of the value that their clients have, basically the pricing strategy of Palantir. I want to discuss about that. And then I want to talk a little bit about Apple and some of the effects that may have on Palantir. Obviously, we got a very big announcement by Apple on Finance Junkies, which is the podcast that's going to happen on this channel in an hour. We will discuss more about the implications of that, but it's going to have some monumental implications across the entire industry, and there's going to be a way that it trickles down to Palantir, and so we'll discuss all of that as we get into it. Thank you, 135 people, for being here. Crossroads, Sam, Dennis, Midwest, Mike, Alex Agonstein, who else do we have? Jew Jr., Prado Man, Ken Bailey, Ermel, Nicholas, David, James, Velez, Nicholas, Dex, Eeyore was right, Ray, Jonathan, Luth, Mr. Anonymous, Roy, Bass says, you scared me. I am sorry. We started the stream. Futbucker, impressive move today. Futbucker, you called this. You thought it could gap up to 18 by the end of the week on Friday. So we will see how it keeps going. Jeremy, my guy, thank you for being here. Mega, Kevin Smith, Nick Nam, Guts, Justin, Doug, thank you all for being here. We've got a lot to discuss. Let me just tweet out that this is live, and then we're going to get this party started and on the road. One thing I will say before we get into it is being a Palantir shareholder is just like it is. I mean, who would have thought, man? Who would have thought? I've been excited to embrace this journey. It's been really fun. I did not think we were going to get this type of price action the way we've got it. And the reason is it's just been really quick. And here's the thing, as the price may come down, if it does ever come back down to 11, 12, 9, 10, 13, 14, we know it's been able to get to 15, right? And so that's the exciting thing. When it went up to 45 in the meme mania, it was $100 billion company and they were barely doing $1 billion in revenue. It just wasn't reasonable. And GameStop, AMC were going to the moon, right? Got caught up in everything. This is getting caught up in, but this is a little bit more targeted in terms of the companies that are running up. And they're running up on technology that is fundamentally real and architecting a new paradigm for how we as people engage with the world, which is what the Apple announcement showed today. And so I think that even if there is a pullback, the ability for us to get to this level, and what's the pullback going to be? $11, $12? Because as it pulls back, people are going to be buying the dip. Everyone wanted more at 12 or 13. Now that seems like a great price compared to 7 or 8, because we don't know if we're going to get 7 or 8 anymore. And so that's what we're going to be able to see kind of how things fizzle out. But if it goes there, then it goes there, and people will still be able to have the ability to buy more. All right, I want to get to comments as well, since people are saying, Amit, what happened to the FDIC contract? It has been 2 years and Palantir was a runner-up. Yeah, I guess they haven't announced it yet. And so as a result of them not announcing that, that is something that is on my mind. I know that was like an $850 million contract. It was a really big one. It's gonna get there, and we'll see when it is announced. But that's another thing that's in the catalyst. Don't you guys think that FOMO is getting real with all the hype? Yes, but the market move we had today. So today, if you guys were part of the live stream, thank you to 700 people that showed up in the market open. We saw Palantir go from 1430 to 1567 within like 3 minutes. And at one point, it was going from 1470 to like 1490 back and forth. And that's not what happens in the markets. It will go like 1470 to 1475, 1471, 1472, 1480, 1483, 1490. But it went from 1470 to like in less than a millisecond, it would do 20-second jumps. And as a result of that, I think there was some manipulation going on today in the morning. And I know all of you guys saw how the price was moving. And so as a result of that, I think there's a whale. I really do. I don't think retail could have caused the momentum we had today. Yes, there is some FOMO buying in. But we've got 2 billion shares outstanding and we got a $30 billion company. It is not that easy for retail to just move it back up, right? It's a little bit harder than normal. So I think there's a whale and I think someone's loading up aggressively. Did ARK buy any today? I don't think we saw ARK buy any today. I was actually, I did something today that I don't usually do. I took a little nap because I was just a little tired and I didn't get to check at 8 p.m. if ARK bought. So I'm checking my phone right now. ARK trading desks. They bought Ginkgo, they bought Rocket Labs, and they bought more Ginkgo. Yeah, they did not buy any Palantir. So ARK was not the whale. It had to be someone else. It had to be someone else. And so we're going to see. 2 announcements. Thank you, Adam, for reminding me about this. So, and then we'll get into some of the news. So me and Adam are going to have Keith Fitzgerald on our stream. Let me pull up the tweet that Adam put out today. This is going to be a really big deal for the Palantir community because this is like one of the most mainstream private equity research analyst guys that exists in CNN and Fox Business and CNBC and all that stuff. And he's joining our little stream in the morning. So it's going to be super fun. This is the guy we're talking about. Wednesday morning, June 7th. 9:40 a.m. He's going to come on our stream and we're going to be able to talk to him. So it's going to be super fun to have someone mainstream come on the program. And, hopefully we'll get even crazier, bigger guests in the future. But we're so thankful for him showing up. And then on tomorrow, Tuesday, 8/8, I am Tuesday, 6/6, June 6th, I'm debating the guy who wrote the Bear Cave article about Palantir, who called Palantir an AI imposter, which we'll talk a little bit about today. I'm going to have a discussion with him and we'll see how he feels after the discussion. It'll be fun. All right. So this is the guy that's coming on the show on Wednesday morning.
And the street loves it, at least for now. Okay, I'm going to bring in our friend Keith Fitzgerald. Keith, this is one of your favorite stocks, so congratulations. So is this it? I mean, it looks like now the company is starting to fire on all cylinders. This isn't this is good news back to back.
It is, but of course, the story's never over until.
Oh shoot! Damn, I just deleted that tab real quick. Damn, I just pulled a Steven, bro. If you guys are familiar with Steven, for him to exit out of stuff, he has to delete stuff. Let me pull that up real quick. That's embarrassing. Well, that is embarrassing. All right, so let's get to it right here. Again, this is the guy who will be joining us Wednesday in the morning.
The company is starting to fire on all cylinders. This isn't this is good news back to back.
It is, but of course, the story's never over until somebody sings on stage. Wall Street has been bullying the stock for a long time, Charles. They're going to continue to do that because they want to separate the weak money from their hands and accumulate positions. The game is a long way from over. People are still going to have to be patient. There's still a lot to come. But CEO Alex Karp put it bluntly. Demand for what they do is unprecedented. That is a great sign.
I hear.
And that's true. Look, this is one of the only guys that I've seen across the major networks. Him and Roger Monte Carlo, I believe, is the guy's name, who ended up buying Palantir back in 2014 and has been pretty supportive of the company. They've been the only 2 people that have said, you got to believe Alex Karp. You got to believe the technology is real. And what he said right there about Wall Street separating the weak money. I mean, if we don't see a major retracement, that is exactly correct. Wall Street was basically separating weak money from the stock and getting people who are going to sell as they were loading up massively in the $9 to $10 range and obviously 11, 12, 13. Again, I don't think Palantir goes from 7 to 15 because of retail. Retail plays a role, but it has to be larger institutions, whether it's the BlackRocks or Vanguards of the world, whatever it may be, either preparing for S&P 500 conclusion, getting AI portfolio allocation to their fund managers, or just believing that Palantir is going to fucking grow because the CEO is saying we're demand through the roof. And so as a result of that, I think that's where we're kind of getting right there. And we're seeing this is big for Palantir in general, having a TV personality, showing some love. Yeah, and this guy's a real TV personality. So it's kind of cool that he's joining the morning stream. It'll be super fun to have him there. Keith dropped his mic. He's a very great speaker and really very good speaker and really understands what is at play and sector and why Palantir is the game changer. I think, yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of the market is starting to wake up to it a little bit more. Let's just say that. They're starting to wake up. Look at the volume, 100 million shares trading hands daily lately. That is also true. And a lot of the shares, if you follow Cam on Twitter, there's some big prints every day, like $2-3 million buys in lots. And, retail can't do that. I don't know about you guys, but most retail investors, you can let me know if I'm wrong, we can't buy $2-3 billion at a time. It's just not that, we just don't have that much money. It has to be some institutional investors, right? So we got Palantir, $50.24, up 0.496%. Let's start off the news with, and let me timestamp these. Let me make it a little bit easier for people. So we're gonna go to the studio. Okay, so 000. We had intro. Now what time is it? We're gonna do 10:11. Okay, so 10:11. 10:11. We're gonna discuss the new Army deal. Okay, so why was the Army deal really important? For those that missed it, I made a video on it. You guys can check it out. But in general, we got $500 million, $463 million from the U.S. Army Command, and this is important because, well, a couple of things. Number one, all right, so there's a bunch of ways to think about it, but the first thing is it was an AI deal, right? It was implementing large language models and AI infrastructure into the military. I mean, here's the question: do you think an AI imposter is getting that type of deal? It's likely just not happening, right? It's just likely not happening. And as a result of that, if that's not happening, then there's going to be it's just a bigger deal than what people give it credit for, because you cannot call Palantir an AI imposter at the point where we're getting $463 million from the largest military in the world. Now, this is an existing contract we had in terms of the relationship we had with the special ops, which is why we're getting this deal in terms of the new valuation of up to $463 million. But one of the things in the press release that was really important is the press release said the decade of trust that Palantir has built up with the United States government is what got us this deal. And my question is, who competes with that? From a governmental perspective, who is competing with Palantir in a software space, which is why I'm starting to get what Sham Sanker meant by the world's first software prime, that is competing with this level of security. One of the things I forgot to mention in my video today, I can't believe I forgot to mention it. This is why IL6 matters. We have IL6 security clearance. There's only 3 companies in the world that have it: Microsoft, Palantir, and Amazon. 2 of them are trillion-dollar companies. One of them is now a $30 billion company. When we got it, we were a $15 billion company. So IL6 security clearance means that the government can actually trust us, giving us this type of money for $463 million, our multi-year contract worth up to $463 million, because we're actually going to protect the data. And then here's the question: why isn't Microsoft or Amazon getting this deal? I mean, it's a really interesting question. Why is Microsoft or Amazon not getting this deal if we're talking about LLMs and AI infrastructure? That's all it was. Don't let the deal complicate you too much. It was building AI infrastructure and large language models to reduce the cognitive load from soldiers, and to be able to kind of streamline the ability to make data-driven decisions from edge AI at scale across the military. I mean, theoretically, Microsoft or Amazon should be able to do that, but Palantir was able to do that because we built the decade of trust. We have the Federal Advisory Board. We've been the ones showing that we can actually get the job done. We have created the competitive bidding process for a meritocratic form of procurement, which is why we sued the Army in the first place, because 10 years ago they weren't accepting software in a reasonable way. They were just doing it based on backdoor deals, and that's why we're getting this deal. So this is sticky revenue. This is revenue that's not going to leave. This is revenue that Wall Street loves, because this is $463 million with 80% gross margins. And what did we have to do? Probably just go through a couple months of negotiations to get the job done. I mean, William Blair is one of the analysts. He sees the contract is for 5 years. I think the contract was for 5 years as well. Doesn't believe it moves the revenue needle for the company. I don't think it does as well. I think most of the growth is going to come in U.S. commercial. But hey, 463 divided by 5, no one's complaining about $90 million more a year. And so, these are some of those deals that it's just hard to get if you're a competitor, and as a result of that, that's why we're going to be able to get it. Don't need to compete with Palantir if Azure AWS is used. Win-win. And that's another thing. Palantir is platform agnostic. So for a lot of people that were saying, oh, Microsoft's going to take the Foundry business. Yeah, some of it with their new product Fabric, but I mean, I don't think it's going to be one of those things that is going to be bundled with Teams. It's not going to be one of those things that independently takes away some of the core competencies of Palantir, because as we can see from all the AIP conference presentations, those core competencies are incredibly difficult to emulate. And that's why Cisco, a $250 billion client, I didn't even know we had them as a company, is using Apollo. JD Power is using Palantir. Cleveland Cliff. I mean, these are really interesting use cases, and I think they're only growing day by day. Keith, thank you for the $5 super chat. As a Navy SEAL, Palantir has been embedded with special ops, as well as various intel agencies for years. Now the public is aware. Watch this space. I got a text message today by a guy who also works in this space, who is kind of, really reaffirming what I was saying. Well, not what I'm saying, what the press release was saying, but is that they're ramping up on these deals. They're getting this shit done. They're getting to more people. They're getting contracts. And it makes sense. Thank you for the super chat to watch this space, because there's a lot of money to be made in this space. If the U.S. military takes 1% of the $800 billion we spend and allocates to software, and Palantir is able to get 10 or 20% of that 1%, we're talking billions of annualized revenue for a company that most people aren't even paying attention to in the context of very hard to do software to implement. The final piece of analysis here is that I don't know if an AI imposter is getting this deal. And so it's a bit hard. It's a bit hard to manage. Imagine that's doing this. Also, Keith, yes, thank you for your service as well as a Navy SEAL. Futbucker's asking, were you East Coast or West Coast on that service? East. Okay. Awesome. Props to Navy SEALs. Yes. If we run up to 100, I'll buy you an Apple headset. Look, we'll talk about Apple in a little bit, but ain't nobody spending $3,500, bro. That's as soon as they announced that. There was a video on Twitter of the reaction by the crowd for when they announced it. No, bro. We're not doing that. We're not 35 put in the chat right now if you're paying 35 I don't think anyone in the all right, maybe some of you have 35 but even if you have the money, are you really okay? Now, not gonna lie, they made the product look really cool. Okay, that flight mode when you put it on in a flight, and I think if you're a heavy traveler, you have to buy this product. But outside of that, it looked pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It's just 35 is a lot. 35 is a lot. I don't know if I'm buying at 35. The rich people will buy it. They'll reduce prices and scales. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's right for them to charge this much because every product they announce in the beginning, it eventually gets cheaper and cheaper, and Apple knows how to make it cheaper. I don't think they need... Zucks is selling the MetaQuest at a loss. We'll talk about it more in Finance Junkies, but he's taking a loss on that, whereas Apple is selling this for a massive premium, I imagine, because they can do it, and that's the power of brand. Now, let's just segue to this. How is this relating to Palantir? One of the things that Apple said is that privacy and security of data is paramount with this new type of product. I think as a lot of companies start to build applications for this headset, and maybe this is a little bit of a stretch, but you're going to need to build in software that makes your stuff not only secure and audited, but more importantly than that, if you're building metaverse stuff, and I did this video a while ago back in 2022, when you're thinking about the metaverse, all you're thinking about is AI and machine learning at scale to be able to build immersive experiences. A lot of Apple and Apple's developer kit is going to control that market. I am curious to see how Palantir plays a role in that, right? Because if we're talking about AI, and this is where maybe there's a role for Palantir to have some type of a consumer product in terms of the fact that they're not going to ever offer their own consumer product. But like, for example, Foundry for crypto. Let's say you're a crypto stock exchange, if you're a crypto exchange, right? And as a result of being a crypto exchange, you are using Foundry for crypto. Now, I think Foundry for crypto is dead. I think crypto is kind of dying off. Not that it's dead, but I don't think Foundry for crypto is really getting that much business. But that is your consumer product. Imagine if Coinbase used Palantir's Foundry for crypto to keep their entire exchange secure. Now, they probably wouldn't do that because Coinbase is a lot bigger, but just imagine that. I could imagine one of these VR, AR, immersive experience companies using some form of software that Palantir has made, either to build their applications from a ontology perspective, right? Just to be able to make better decisions, be able to get the data, secure the data, etc., or to be able to actually create the AI immersive experiences that keeps the data safe and secure, and that would be Palantir in the back end. It's a little bit of a stretch, but there is a world in which you could imagine that Apple does change the next generation of computing if this thing becomes a hit, which is still a question. And then AI, VR, AR immersive experiences require some type of backend software in addition to a lot of other backend pieces of software, and Palantir plays a role there. That was my bull case for Foundry for crypto. My bull case was a major crypto exchange hit scale. They're using Foundry for crypto at the backend to be able to make sure everything's safe, anti-money laundering, all that stuff is there, security, right? The stuff that crypto exchanges really suffer. Why? Which is why the SEC is suing your boy CZ Binance. Never been my boy. I don't know if he's your boy. He's never been my boy. That guy's always been shady to me. He's getting sued by the SEC for these exact reasons, right? That they're operating illegally and it's not secure. So maybe there is some relationship with what Apple's doing, but ultimately it'll take time to tell. Apple will never use Palantir. I don't think Apple's going to use Palantir. I think some of the third-party developers that need to be able to build a lot of the experiences for a VR, AR world would be using Palantir. Unity was mentioned. Unity went to the freaking moon, up 20%. As soon as Apple, I've never been part of a conference where I'm looking at my phone and I'm looking at the conference. They mention we're using Unity for our blah, 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 blah. And then I just type in Unity on Robinhood and I'm like, yeah, that's the stock market. Like that's crazy, bro. I've never seen something like that. It was up 17% within 2 seconds. Is your shirt inside out? No, the Adidas logo is just transparent, you see. And because of the new AR VR world we're entering into, you know, the glasses, you could see some parts of the world, you can't see some parts of the world. That was Apple was you can see some parts of the logo, can't see some parts of it. So that was it's not like I took a nap and I woke up and I needed a shirt or anything. It was you know, that's just it's poor Mick can't dress himself. Is this Finance Junkies? No. We'll be on Finance Junkies in 40 minutes. This is Palantir Daily Shareholder Meeting Club. I love the name being that long. Palantir Daily Shareholder Meeting Club. That's a fun name to do it. Thank you to 400 people. We have hit 400, so that's why we got to ring the cowbell. We have hit 400 on the live stream. Okay, let's move on to the next topic right now. And the next topic we're going to talk about is pricing strategy. Okay, pricing strategy. So Karp said something really interesting, and I want to pull that up from the interview that I reacted to on Sunday. And I think this pricing strategy was actually like a really, really, it was just very interesting in terms of how they think they can actually go to market. So I want to pull it up right here. I don't have this part timestamp, so I'm going to search for it. But this is something I want to consume, and then I want to have discussion about it. And I want to see what the audience thinks about this as well, because this to me, I think it makes a lot of sense. And if it works, then it's going to be a pretty important thing.
Basically, try what we're doing and try.
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Competitive landscape. Okay, I actually wanted to ask you about C3 AI as an example, because you come up in.
It's loading for 4K. Let it load for just a second, and then we'll be good. If I record in 4K, we might as well watch it in 4K, right? So it's not that bad.
In bidding processes with them.
Actually, look, this is a massive market. We actually don't come up with bidding processes with anyone. And I'll tell you what I think about everyone.
So you don't have any competition.
Let me just tell you about this competition thing that Wall Street analysts love. It's complete BS. This is an infinite market, basically. Try what we're doing and try what everyone else is doing.
Sorry, guys.
Buy the thing that creates the most value.
Okay, we're just not going to share that stream. I don't know why it's being so annoying today. But this is the point that he was trying to go for. Okay, let me get into that. I don't know. The internet's good. It's showing that it's fine. I don't know why it's being so annoying with the stream. What he was saying, right, when the guy was asking about competitors, he was like, okay, so what about C3A? What about all these other guys? And he's like, this is BS. We are playing an infinite game. And what he means by an infinite game is that this is a market that is going to CAGR really, really sort of infinitely, right? So Bloomberg put out that this is going to be a $1.3 trillion market by 2032. It's CAGRing at about $41 billion a year. That means every year there's $41 billion that's on these types of software. And that's only in the commercial enterprise. That's not even defense. That's not all the other places that it can be used. Karp's response was, that doesn't matter because we haven't seen the actual impacts, which I hate to use the word, but is going to be exponential when it comes to AI within a company. And as a result of that, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. It's going to be bigger than what we can imagine. We can't even imagine what the TAM of that looks like, which is why it could be north of $1 trillion in terms of the TAM over the next 10 years to be able to capture. So the argument here was the interviewer basically said, why aren't you charging and then getting money so you have a predictable pricing strategy for shareholders versus just giving the product away, kind of like what they did in Ukraine? And Karp's response was phenomenal. He said, if I feel the lack of quality in my product is not that strong, then I will force you to pay me first, right? Like if I feel like I'm not that good at delivering on my promises, then I want the money first and then I'll deliver on my services. And we've seen this all the time in business, whether you've been working with a salesperson, a coach, whatever. It's like, no one usually is that good enough to say, hey, I'll give you the results, then get paid. Because if the results are contingent on my payment, more likely than not, people just aren't that good to be able to deliver the results. Therefore, the payment won't be delivered and people won't get paid. When you've got someone like Karp and team basically saying, take the software, see what it does. You can use it however you want for the next 18 months and then decide if you want to use a different software, then decide if you don't want to pay us, or then decide what you think it's worth to us and come back to us. That is a hell of a statement to make. I mean, that is a hell of a statement to make. And yes, I know that the book is from Simon Sinek. By the way, Blake, you always get me. I'm going to tell you this time, you got his name wrong. It's Sinek, not Senik. but that is his name. I'm very familiar with that author. The concept of an infinite game means that the value is so strong and there's so much more to gain that if we don't think our software is a pile of shit, then we can charge more than what a pile of shit software costs. And this is why Carp is, now I finally understood why Carp is so anti-sales. Like I understood why is Carp so anti-sales? The reason Carp is so anti-sales is because he genuinely believes if you build the best product in the world and people use it, it will sell itself. Which is why he must be having the time of his life right now, basically having his thesis come true again, which is AIP is selling itself. They're getting more inbound in a year than this month. They got more inbound than they got all last year. This is a direct quote from him. I mean, he must be having the time of his life because at some level, the market has shifted to who are the AI players. The entire 0 to 1 philosophy is build a product that no one can compete with and then get massive levels of distribution because the product is that good. Now, the product, it's kind of ironic because the entire book Peter Thiel talks about you have to build distribution before you build product. And Palantir did it the opposite way. They built product first because they were so engineering focused. Now they built a product that seemingly there is not a lot of competition with. Like, is there competition? Yes. Is there great competition with Foundry? Sure. Is there great competition with AIP? No. And as a result of there not being that great competition with AIP, you've got a product that is essentially selling itself. I don't know what Palantir is going on. I don't know what's going on with sales. Sales were pretty good. Q1, we hit 519 million versus 506 expected. So, I mean, I don't know what's going on internally with the sales culture of Palantir. I hope it's getting better, but I do think that Carp feels pretty vindicated because if they're getting all this inbound demand and that's actually leading to deals being closed, especially as I said in Q1 earnings that we were having hundreds of conversations, then that's resulting from not getting money up front, but delivering value up front. And then that value you get to charge an arm and a leg for, because then who wants to get rid of that value? It's just very simple. It's like software that are free trials, right? Like, if ChatGPT lets you use it for a week free and you use it every day, you're probably going to pay the $20 a month, which they basically let you do, right? They let you use it for free infinitely. They just cap a little bit of the speed. And then that's why I upgraded, because I was like, I need this immediately. So it seems very, very exciting what they're doing with the pricing strategy. And by the way, no other company on the planet is doing this type of pricing strategy with AI. C3 is not doing it. By the way, I have a video coming out tomorrow about C3, and the guy who investigated Theranos is investigating C3. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Snowflake's not doing that, right? Amazon's not doing that. Microsoft's not doing that. What company in AI is saying, take our product and pay us after you realize how powerful it is? Now, granted, you're going to have to pay a lot of money. So it's not, Palantir understands it's a big commitment, but that's why they're willing to put their money where their mouth is in terms of use the product first and then decide if it's worth it. And Palantir is able to do it, which makes sense. Yes, the shirt is inside out. I'm sorry. I took a little nap today. I never take naps, and I took a little nap and I woke up and the shirt was inside out. I'm just going to get this for Finance Junkies now. We're just going to have to keep it like this. Admit, is this a fashion choice? No, but I do like being contrarian. So it's actually kind of fun having it be this way. I'm not going to lie. Carp, I told you so. Nobody would listen, and now some people are listening. I'm not going to lie, bro. Everything this man has said is starting to come true, and it's kind of crazy seeing it happen. It is really, really crazy. That's the drug dealer strategy. First hit is free. That's correct, baby. First hit is free. First hit is indeed free. Once you get that first hit, it's hard to leave. Once you get that first hit, it is absolutely hard to leave. Let's take a look at some of the comments. The hat's backwards. That is, the hat is backwards. Please turn it the right way. No, now I'm keeping it this way. Now we're doing it this way. Now I like a shirt with no buttons. This is kind of cool. This is get the chain out, everything. Now we're doing it this way. This is what we're doing. Palantir went up, shirt inside out. Contrarian and 5-year. Contrarian and 5-year-old is not the same, Amit. No, I'm gonna assume it's contrarian. That's where we're gonna do it. Okay, let's move on to another topic. The next topic I wanted to talk about is U.S. demand. Okay, U.S. demand. So why did we get the deal that we got today, the $463 million? The primary reason for it is because Alex Karp said in the Bloomberg interview that the United States is in a competitive position in regards to defense software that we've never seen before. We have an edge over Russia and China. And the reason we have an edge over Russia and China is because the biggest software companies in the world come from the United States. Mainly they come from Silicon Valley. I mean, think of them. Adobe, NVIDIA, Google, Apple, Microsoft came from Seattle, I think a little bit. And then and Amazon also did come from Seattle. Tesla, right? Palantir. You've got the biggest Oracle, the biggest Salesforce, the biggest names in the world that sell internationally, globally, are coming from the United States, primarily coming from a sliver of the United States in Silicon Valley. So the US has a software advantage over our competitors. We've got Taiwan and China that's heating up. We've got Russia and Ukraine that's already happening right now. And you've got two aggressive entities that are building their own OpenAI competitors, and they're building them not with the same types of any moral concerns or security. I mean, they're building some really advanced stuff into that. You can buy guns, you can buy tanks, you can buy helicopters. All three of the US, Russia, China countries can do those. What you can't replicate as easily as building a tank is building really good software, because there's a culture that comes with software. There's a certain level of expertise that comes with software. There's a certain level of innovation. There's a certain pace of speed, and you'll get there. Russia and China will catch up. But if we have an advantage, as we do right now, then we should keep keeping up. So I think the reason we got the deal this morning is because if the United States starts to recognize that their center in the defense space in regards to software is at a competitive advantage that is fundamentally differentiated from Russia and China, and we can just allocate a little bit more of our defense spending to those resources, a lot of that money is then going to go to software contractors. And if we become the world's first software prime, we're going to get a lot of that money. And as a result of getting a lot of that money, that is going to be pretty exciting for Palantir, because it's going to make sense for why the best companies in the world should get that software capital allocation. So the investment case here is like, okay, so you're telling me that the United States has an advantage in software. You're telling me you're one of the premier software defense contractors for the United States. And you're telling me that as the world gets even more geopolitically intense, and by the way, this is not me saying this, is not me theorizing about this, is Stanley Druckenmiller, right? One of the greatest investors of all time, who's an investor in Palantir, also saying that the world's getting more deglobalized, that China's trading, oil in yuans with Brazil. I mean, like, there's stuff that's happening that we have to take into account. We almost defaulted on our debt, for goodness sake, right? Like, there's a lot of different things that could happen, and don't say they don't happen until they happen, because then they happen. Palantir's in a prime position to be able to get a lot of that money because they provide the best software. So in the context of the United States, I think, and defense in particular, I think this makes a lot of sense for where Palantir is trying to strategically orient themselves. And the question is, in the next 5 years, do you think we're spending more on software from defense budgets? And if the answer is yes, it's as simple. If the answer is yes, then that money is going to Palantir. And if that money is going to Palantir, that's going to be important. Let's get into the comments. I made a mistake, took some profit at 13 and bought them back at 15. I think, a lot of people have been saying they had their covered calls and they had like $15 strikes and that got messed up today, or they sold at 13, yada, yada. I think, look, if you sold, let's talk about the stock for a second. If you sold a little, I have to share a tweet on what I said today. If you sold and you took some profits at 13 or 14, don't go crazy, because it is what it is, right? Like, you took some profits, and no one ever went broke taking profits. That's a line that most people, continuously mention. And if you took your profits, you took your profits. It's not the worst thing in the world. So you should be happy you took your profits. Now, granted, I don't know if you're going to get back to those prices, but maybe we do, right? And maybe it was a good sell. Maybe it was, you timed the market, and we'll see where it goes from there. But for me, and this is my response to everyone who's been asking, hey, Amit, are you selling at 15? And a lot of people have been asking it because I just broke even on my shares. My response was, for those that have asked, and look at the GIF as soon as you get it. For those that have asked if I'm selling Palantir at 15, my average was low 15, so I'm filing the green. The answer is no. If it dips aggressively, I'll just buy aggressively. Plus, life is more fun when you enjoy the ride. This has been my my philosophy on it. I think it's really simple. Like if it goes back down to 11 or 10 or 9 or whatever, 7, okay. I know what I'm buying, and this time I'll be a little bit more aggressive than before, because people don't realize my average was 26 and I got it to 15. So everyone was like, how have you been DCAing? You're stuck at 15. It's like, bro, this has been a long story. Okay. It's been, so I thought I had even more time to get it down to like 11, from 15 to 11. But again, you have to put up like another 10 grand to get it there. And so I DCA'd pretty aggressively, bro. It is what it is, right? It went down. People don't realize Palantir went down like 80, 90%. It went down really badly. People were getting it in the $30. It came down all the way to below 6. So people have been DCAing for a while. The question is, I know some big whales in the community that have very large averages, people that you all know, that we still have these $15, $17, $18 averages because it's just hard, right? And so my philosophy has been, yes, I could theoretically say it's overvalued right now, get all my shares out, get some money, and then when it gets back to $10, I can even get more shares. But if I were to do that, I could have done that at 13 or 14, even if I wasn't breaking even, because if I was expecting the retrace, I would still have more cash, even if I took the loss, and I could have gotten more shares. The problem is no one fucking knows. And as a result of no one knowing, it's really hard to be able to time this thing. And so my philosophy is let it ride. Let it ride and see where it goes from there. Sold the $18 covered calls for the end of the week. I'm shaking my boots. Yeah, some of y'all be selling these calls like it's not. I'm just saying, bro. Selling these calls on tech sometimes is a little. You never know what's gonna happen. I mean, the people who are selling the $15, the $16 calls, it hit $15.70 today. I know these motherfuckers are like, uh-oh, I don't know what's happening. And so we will see. Whale, is that a fat joke commit? No, Matt. I'm a whale is someone who has a lot of capital, and someone bought a lot of capital. Went from $28 to $11. That's a great decrease. That's awesome. See, and I went from 26 to 15, but it's hard. It's hard to go down. You got to put in a lot of money every single month. And at some point, if you keep doing that, the thing's going to become 80-90% of your portfolio, which it was for me at one point. And then I finally, a couple months ago, was like, let me diversify a little bit, because I was like, goodness, this is a lot. So it's tough. And no one expected the run up that we got. So now, this is what I'm saying. Now, if we get the dip, bro, I don't think people are realizing now, if we get the dip, will retail that just jumped in sell off as it goes from 15 to 14 to 13 to 12? Yes, they're going to sell off pretty aggressively because they don't even know what the stock is. And they're going to be like, oh, fuck this. I'm out of this. I have some gains. I'm leaving. Or I'm going to just take a small loss. However, when that happens, institutions that have loaded up, because make no mistake about it, this is not a retail-driven rally. Institutions got the price from 7 to 15 in 2 weeks. It is not retail. Retail just can't move it. There's no short squeeze. There's no GameStop. There's no Wall Street bets. Not even enough of retail knows about the goddamn stock for it to be able to rise as aggressively as it has rose. When those shares leave from 12 to 13 to 14 and it falls to 11, there's going to be a lot of toots that just take that off the table. And if that happens, I don't know if we easily see the 10s and 9s that people are asking for, because they think the proper valuation, whatever that means, is in the $9 range. And I'm very sympathetic to that, because I've been arguing that it probably should be at that level as well. But AI is real. AI is real, baby. And we're the AI players. And so, bro, if you had told me a year ago that Palantir was going to have a run up of over 130%, let's pull up the stock real quick, because of two letters called A and I would be like, you're selling me a pipe dream, bro. I was like, really? You're telling me we're up 138% year to date because of fucking AI? Really? Like ChatGPT is the reason we're up? Yep. ChatGPT. The NASDAQ was down 35% peak to trough before February 2022, when ChatGPT went mainstream and started hitting, close to 10 million users a week. ChatGPT saved the market. Innovation saved the market. Innovation has become deflationary in the context of the productivity and eventually the growth in GDP that ChatGPT has been able to accelerate. And the beneficiaries of that have been NVIDIA, have been Microsoft, have been Tesla, have been Amazon, have been Google, have been Meta. If you have not invested in large cap tech for the majority of their year, unless you got a certain name right, like Palantir or like a SoFi, you have not had a good year. Like in terms of just momentum with the market, right? Because even even the S&P, to invest in the S&P, 5 of those or 7 out of those 500 companies have been big tech that have been controlling the rally. And so if you have not had exposure to large cap tech in some capacity, whether it's NASDAQ, S&P, or individual equities that I just mentioned, outside of smaller speculative plays like Palantir or SoFi, you really haven't had the best year. And so Palantir has been one of those stocks that's had a good year because of A&I. And it's been really really exciting to see. Price target for Palantir, I have no idea anymore. My price target for Palantir. My price target is like literally, again, after earnings, I specifically remember telling Adam as soon as the call ended, it was at 10:30. I was like, this is going back to 7. Then it went to 12. I was like, this is great, but I think it might come down. This is 13. I'm like, wow, this is kind of 14. It's like, are we at 15? Like, are you kidding? Like 16, 17, 18, Sweet 16. Are we on the way? Like, by the way, I was in a lot of Sweet 16s when I was 16 years old. It's like a court, like a girl. She has a court of like 16 guys and girls, like couples, and they dance for in the beginning of the party. I don't know if you guys remember that stuff. I was in a bunch of them. It was pretty fun. I think I was a pretty good dancer. I'm not gonna lie, but like, I don't know if we get there. And we'll see. 2030, I have no idea. Again, I don't think people understand if this market continues to, this is not just like being like ideological anymore. People are spending lots of money and the market is catering at, and the most academic report I've read on this is about $40 billion a year. So people are like, Carlos on Finance Junkies, he always likes to ask, what's the headline that gets Palantir to become a massive company? What is the thing that explodes it? The thing that explodes it is total US GDP is growing at 10% year over year because of AI. And that's a real headline I saw. Now, is that a little exaggerated? Sure. But and I think Crossroads pointed this out on Twitter, if GDP growth is accelerating because of the deflationary effects of AI, Zoom's introducing AI, Salesforce is AI, every major tech company in the world is implementing some level of AI, and it's not just bullshit, it's like real stuff. And Apple's announcement today is only normalizing AI immersive experiences even more. Where do you think the world's going? And the crypto shit that the Foundry for Crypto bullshit we were doing, that was just us playing to the crowd. That wasn't real. AIP is real. We didn't have a Foundry for Crypto conference. We had an AIP conference, right? And I can't blame Palantir for doing that. Every company was trying to say, Meta had NFTs on Instagram. You have to be a fucking loser to have an NFT badge on Instagram. Like you actually have to be so that's gone. That's done. Not saying Bitcoin can't rally and all that stuff, but like the actual crypto use cases for businesses, it's done. GG, good night. It's over. It's not coming back. No one is using crypto into their businesses, and especially not Fortune 500 companies. Remember that Libra coin Meta was trying to develop? Yeah, that's axed. Remember WorldCoin that Sam Altman was trying to develop? It's like we're not playing that game anymore. No one cares about it. It's not exciting. VCs aren't funding it anymore. AI is what's getting funded, and you need AI in the context of AR and VR in order for it to work. Like Apple filed 5,000 patents. Many of them, I was reading on Twitter today, are related to artificial intelligence, just for like the ability to predict when a user is going to move their thumb up and down. There's a patent on that. And that is like fully built from an AI and machine learning perspective. One of the researchers who worked at Apple was tweeting about it today, just to make this AR kit work. If that's the case, this is a real market, and that market can expand so unbelievably in ways that we can't even quantify, just like what's going on with NVIDIA right now. NVIDIA says, they had some crazy number. They're going to like control half of the world's GDP, some ridiculous number. I'm probably messing it up, but it's some insane number. They said that they could accelerate in revenue, which is why they're getting such a big premium, because that's, how they've continued to guide. And if that's the case, this is going to be a very big market. A very big market. Man, Amit can run his mouth. I like talking. It's fun to talk. It's funny how they try to integrate blockchain and crypto into my college classes because it was the future. Yet no one talks about how every company will use AI. Yeah, that's bullshit. Like honestly, man, look, I was having an existential crisis with myself because the startup I'm building, aldia.io/register. By the way, I got some awesome DMs today. I'm not going to talk about this, but Spotify cut 2% of their podcast business, their workforce today. This is a really bad sign for Spotify. Again, I don't want to get into it today. We can probably talk about it a little bit later on the morning open or whatever, but maybe we'll cover it on Finance Junkies a little bit. But Spotify cutting 2% of the only business that has margins for them, which is podcasts, because they don't make shit on music. That's not a good sign for what's going on in the podcast space. Now, I bring this up to say, my startup, I had an existential crisis in 2021 as we were getting in we hadn't raised any money yet. Because I was thinking, okay, if Web3 is a thing, right? And Web3 happens, then if Web3 happens, what my startup is gone. And I'll compare that to AI in a second. Why did I say that? Because look, if Web3 becomes a thing and decentralized blockchains take over the internet, my startup is a centralized company, right? My startup is no different than YouTube. We host a bunch of audio content in one place. It's all controlled by me, essentially, right? Like a backend server that I have full authority of. So, all the free speech concerns that blockchains have, all the transparency stuff, I don't get to solve any of that because I have the same business model as all the other big tech companies. I'm just not a big tech company, but I have the same business model. So I was like, if NFTs become mainstream, if blockchain becomes mainstream, if Web3 and crypto tokenization becomes the underlying ethic by which the web operates on, well, I'm screwed because we don't have a crypto play. I'm not building some fucking tokenized version of Aldia. So I'm like, I guess my startup is gone. So for months, I was going back and forth and I was just like, damn, bro, if this is the case, like I'm going to be in a tough position, right? Like, how am I supposed to compete against the biggest crypto companies in the world as a startup if we don't have a crypto angle? And then I concluded by May of 2021, I listened to a podcast with Naval, and I respect Naval a lot. He's like a thought leader and shit, and Tim Ferriss. And I was listening to it and I was like, this is legitimately bullshit. I was driving home from work and I was like, this is legitimately bullshit. I was like, all of this is bullshit. I was like, I'm going to keep building my startup and not even act like NFTs or Web3 is a thing because all of it is legitimately bullshit. And when I saw Balaji the guy who said Bitcoin was going to $1 million in 90 days, 150 days ago, who was like the former CTO of Coinbase, when he said that YouTube was going to become decentralized, and he was on the Olin podcast, and Friedberg, shout out to David Friedberg, he asked him, wait, how is YouTube going to recommend videos if there's not a centralized algorithm to be able to create discovery for content, which is the whole goal of Audia in the context of audio content? How do you create discovery if everyone has their own algorithm on these decentralized servers? Like, how does that make any sense? And the dude couldn't answer the question. Like, legitimately, the dude had no response. And that's when I was like, yep, this is bullshit. This is a grift. This is stupid. This might work in some situations, but for it to become the new way of how the internet works, no. Everything will still be centralized. Data will still be monetized. And Facebook, Amazon, Google will still be the biggest companies in the world. And by the way, we will give up our data and privacy for that because it's super convenient to go on YouTube and type in something and get a video versus go through some decentralized blockchain to get a video. As a result of that, AI, to me, is first, it's not creating an existential catastrophe or crisis for my startup because we could implement AI. Every business can use AI. You don't need some type of crypto angle. And AI only makes a recommendation engine or a centralized service more productive. So the dichotomy I'm pointing here is that Web3, you try to just look at it at the basic use cases as a startup. Can I use it? No. And then I think, can big companies use it? No. And then I'm like, it's nonsense. It's not going to work. And in a year, it fizzled out. That doesn't mean crypto and Bitcoin can't still go to the moon or whatever, right? But that it's all BS. AI, I'm like, I can use it. You know, any startup can leverage GPT's API immediately. There's startups that are starting every single day. Not all of them are going to win, but the biggest companies in the world are leveraging AI, which means startups are going to have to leverage AI, which means this is a big market. And if this is a big market, there's a lot of money to be made here. There's a lot of money to be made. Matthew, thank you for joining and becoming a channel member. You are green now. What's up, Matthew? Thank you for becoming a YouTube channel member. It means a lot. YouTube just let me put up these channel memberships, so I put them out. We got like 11 members. That's super cool. Thank you for joining. If there's nothing, you don't get any extra content. I can't produce any more content, but you get to support the channel, so that means a lot. Dude, stay hydrated. I've got a lot of water here. I'll take a sip right now as you're. Oh man, yeah. I be talking a lot, bro. I just be fucking talking. I don't know how I be talking this much. I don't even know how I do it, guys. I just be talking. I just like talking. It's kind of fun. In the morning, we had 700 people in the live stream, and I was just spitting, bro. I was just talking. It was fun, bro. I live for this shit, bro. People get nervous seeing these numbers. Like, there's 479 people here. I don't get nervous. I get excited. I'm like, let's get to like 479,000, bro. Like, this is just fun to me. This is cool. So it's fun. What about the ones of us that are on Patreon? Yeah, you get to support on Patreon. So either you support on Patreon or you support on the YouTube channel member. It's the same. Honestly, Patreon takes less of a cut, but whatever is convenient. That's all. And again, there's just no extra content because I put out a lot of content, but it does support. And so that's pretty much it. Amit's starting to sound like these earnings conference calls, trying to see how many times he can say AI. Okay, you're not wrong. But by the way, did you guys notice? Okay, so let's talk about Apple. We've got about 12 minutes left before Finance Junkies. So Finance Junkies is the podcast to do with Tally, Chris, and Carlos. We're going to talk a lot about Apple. Let's have a little conversation about Apple. And as we wrap it up, who's buying this $3,500 thing? Because Apple did not say the words AI once in their conference. Like, literally, they did not say the words AI once. They kept saying machine learning. They were trying to be cute. They kept saying machine learning. And I was like, this is nonsense. They're saying machine learning. Well, they mean AI, right? But they didn't want to seem like every other company. They were still trying to be differentiated and not say AI. So it was really funny to see that happening amid playing the trend. But see, the reason I'm talking about AI, and this is why it's so fun covering Palantir, is because I'll give you guys a couple of video ideas that I have that are going to come out this week. AI is implicating the entire world. So if you're covering a company that is at the epicenter of AI, and I know NVIDIA and Tesla are there as well, but Palantir is emerging as a major player. And again, like, frankly speaking, my reputation is kind of thrusts on Palantir becoming that company. And that's a risk I've taken. And I've fully taken that risk knowing. That's why when people say, they got money in Palantir, I'm like, bro, I've got my reputation on Palantir. So there's a lot of layers to this. And the whole Palantir community that tweets about it every day, YouTube's about it every day. We've got a reputation on it, just like the Tesla community did for 2013 till 2019 until they were vindicated. So to me, I'm looking at every angle, and I think that's how I think of video ideas, right? What is every single angle in which AI applies to Palantir to the point where you're not stretching it, right? So when I made that video about the video I did about a week ago, that was the head of Google, like Google just confirmed that Palantir is an AI player. The reasoning in that video, the logic, the angle of that video was that the head of ethics of AI that won a Nobel Prize. I don't know if it was a peace prize, but something around his research in AI. He left Google because he's like, Google doesn't give a shit about security and protecting data. To me, that's like, as soon as I hear that, as I think when I read these articles, I'm like, how does that relate to Palantir? Because if the world is moving towards AI and all these things are happening in the context of AI, and then you got CARP basically talking about security, privacy, ethics, and data, all of this stuff is intermingled in such a unique and interesting way. And I think one of the things that I've been kind of good at is kind of dissecting it and bringing that to life as a concept to speak about of discussion, but it's all integrated. And so it's a really, really interesting discussion. Owen, thank you for becoming a channel member. I'll expect you to cancel soon because you're 19 years old and I don't know if you can keep paying it, but thank you for being here. Leprechaun became a YouTube member. Thank you, Leprechaun, for joining a channel member. That means a lot. Jeremy put out a good video on Apple's Vision Pro today. Yo, I love the name Vision Pro. Vision Pro was great. I don't know what they were going to call it, but Vision Pro was awesome. I loved it. Vision Pro was a phenomenal name because like Vision Pro 2, Vision Pro 3, Vision Pro 4, Vision Pro 5, right? You're just going to keep naming it something new over the next 10 years. Look, the reason I think the market might like this later is because they've got a product that they can innovate on for the next decade, next 2 decades. It's almost 2 decades with the iPhone, 2007 to 2023. So we're inching towards 20 years of the iPhone. And if that's the case, these are hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue that's going to accelerate for Apple. And you've got a thriving developer ecosystem, and Apple makes it cool, right? I know Meta's had the Quest for a while, but Meta's never felt cool. Apple makes it cool. Now that external battery pack, people are giving them shit for that. I think they needed that because, quite frankly, if they didn't have that, at least in version 1, and you put that in the thing, it would just be more clunky. So I like that you have it in your pocket, at least for now, and then you can do stuff with your hands. Whereas with Meta, I think you have to hold some controllers, which is just like not appealing at all. So it makes sense that Apple's using that right now. The Vision Pro is a great name, sick name. I agree. I like that name a lot. Maybe 1,500 for the headset at most. Yeah, 1,500 is reasonable. 3,500 is a bit crazy, bro. It's like that's a lot. That's a lot. Apple did say LLM and machine learning, bro. They were just trying to not say AI. They were like, we have done machine, like it was so intentional. By the way, let me know what you guys think, but I hated the presentation being this pre-recorded bullshit. Like I want purple stage Apple WWC conferences back where they have to execute on stage. There might be a mistake on stage, but that's what makes it fun. There's pressure when you're on stage. It's not highly edited. Everything's not perfect. And you've got people actually clapping. Like that's the conference I want again. This like outside, let's put up a movie tent and watch it conference is trash, bro. It wasn't exciting to me. So I want to see it operate like that. Some of you agree with that as well. Yeah, I want to see that happen. Mitigating the risks of AI and regulating the industry will be an existential obligation. The models used to run these AI systems are inherently flawed. AIP solves the black box lethality of it. So again, 2 announcements. I'm interviewing Keith Fitzgerald, who is one of the mainstream Palantir commentators in the media. He'll be on the live stream on Wednesday, so it'll be fun to talk to him Wednesday, 9:40 a.m. Second, I am interviewing the guy who wrote the Bear Report, Edwin, tomorrow at 8 p.m. live on the show. Okay. Now, he called Palantir a black box, and it's really interesting because it seems like it's a critique that is so... I don't know, man. It's such a weird critique to call them a black box because you may not know what the software does. You may not have gone on their open sourced GitHub and seen the software because you probably didn't care about doing that much due diligence, but it's not that much of a black box. It really isn't. I mean, there's like thousands of videos online right now from Palantir explaining the software and literally using it on screen. I don't think it's a black box. I think anyone saying it's a black box doesn't really understand the product or the software. That's like saying AWS is a black box. I know Palantir is not AWS, but Palantir is being used in a lot of, I mean, the amount of companies that have roles that require jobs about people that can use Palantir Foundry it's in the thousands. And we've covered them on numerous videos, from United Airlines to Pepsi to Roblox. I mean, there's so many companies. So to say it's a black box software is a bit ridiculous in my opinion. But we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. Is Jackson still interviewing Edwin? I think so. I don't know when he's doing it, but he will be. I'll be interviewing him tomorrow. Igor, what's up? Thank you for being here. It's gonna be fun. That guy will no show. No, he confirmed to me today. He confirmed to me today that he'll show up. So he said he'll show up, and so it'll be a respectful conversation. It'll be good. Let's just say you don't want to miss it. I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be very fun. And this is cool because when this is people's real money. Like I don't think people understand when they write these bear reports. I've spoken to people who were literally drug addicts for years of their life. They got their shit together. They started learning about financial freedom, independence, investing, the stock market. They started their own businesses and they invested in Palantir because that's the stocks they came across. These are the people that have to read some of these bear reports. Forget all the institutional investors. Forget all the retail investors that have been investing for a long time. There's new people that have put real significant amounts of capital at low ranges in Palantir, $7, $8, $9, and you're fucking with them. And I take that kind of seriously, bro. I really take that kind of seriously. Because when you're fucking with them and you're trying to scare them with this bullshit you write, when you're not even short the company, because you're probably not short the company, and you're just trying to get $64 off a Substack, like, bro, there's so many more bad companies out there doing horrible things, misleading investors. Like he could have written an entire report on C3 AI, but he chooses Palantir. It's bad. It's really bad. Going against a company literally saving lives, it's bad. I agree. Kevin Smith, thank you for joining the channel and becoming a channel member. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Thank you for being here. Amit, don't give him your arguments now. Yeah, I sent him some questions I was going to ask him just in general to prepare, more broad questions, but it'll be fun. It'll be a really good discussion. And so we will see where it goes from there. But look, it's just, you're fucking with real people's money. And look, giving a bear case is not bad. Like there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I think Palantir is just blah, blah, blah. Basically framing them as an AI imposter and the people that are investing are literally investing in a fraud. That's a pretty big accusation, bro. And in the media game, you can't have those levels of accusations without any type of accountability. And it matters. It matters what you say. Amit's going to use his debate skills tomorrow. Maybe just a little bit. Okay, that's it for me, guys. In 3 minutes, we have Finance Junkies. So 459 people, go get some popcorn, go get some food, go get a drink, get whatever you need to get. If you got to light up something, do what you got to do, because for the next hour, we are going to be talking about what happened with Apple. We're going to be talking stocks. We're going to be talking Unity. We did a Unity deep dive like 7 days ago, and now Unity is doing really well today. We got a lot to talk about on Finance Junkies. Thank you all for joining Daily Palantir Shareholder Club meeting with its long-ass name. I love that name. And I'll see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we interview the guy from the Bear Cave. And Finance Junkies will be starting in 3 minutes. All right, everybody. I'll see you in 3.